Quality time means spending time with family and friends, so don't spend the whole time in the kitchen. Here's a couple recipes you can actually make a day or two ahead. We're making Grandma's secret recipe yellow squash casserole and one of my favorites, homemade cranberry sauce. The recipe starts with zesting an orange, and we're also going to pull the juice as well. It's much easier to do this on a paper towel, so it can easily be dropped into a ramekin or small bowl. We're going to turn the heat on the pot about a medium high. Next, we're going to make a simple syrup, which is equal combinations of sugar and water. In this case, it's 1 cup of sugar and 1 cup of water. You want to simmer for 1 minute to make sure the sugar is completely melted. When the sugar's melted and we have a simmer, add your cranberries. We'll reduce the heat to medium and simmer for 10 to 15 minutes. You'll hear them start to pop open. About a minute into the simmering, we'll add our orange zest and stir it in. Now while it's simmering, let's go ahead and juice our orange. And we'll cut it in half and we'll squeeze it into a ramekin or small bowl. Well, that's looking great. It's nice and thick. Turn off the heat and we'll add the fresh squeezed orange juice. Mix well. We'll pour it into a serving dish. Now, to remind yourself that you're going to put in some fresh lemon juice before you serve, place a wedge on the plate. And remember, nothing hot goes in a refrigerator. It needs to sit out for maybe 45 minutes to an hour to cool off first. That way you won't be generating any bacteria. The squash casserole starts with a medium grated carrot. And we'll place the grated carrots to the side on a paper towel, which will help get some of that moisture out of there. Now, we have some squash here that we're going to be using. The smaller, the better. 2 reasons. It's sweeter, and the seeds are smaller as well. Remove the top and the bottom. Cut them in half again. And do a nice medium to small dice. We're going to need 2 cups. We're also going to dice up a sweet onion. We'll leave the root end intact and remove the top piece. Peel off the 1 outer layer. We'll make some slices, but not all the way through, about 3/4 of the way. Then we'll turn and do a rolling chop to make a nice dice. Now, we're going to start with our onions, so we have to get our pan medium-high heat for about maybe 1 minute. Next, we're going to actually add 1 stick of butter, and we'll place it in the pan to melt. And we'll add our onions. Now, before you flip out on how much butter is in here, there's a reason for this. After we saute our onions, we're going to actually mix it with our bag of breadcrumbs so it'll soak all this up. This is our topping for the squash casserole. Now, Grandma says to cook on a medium-low on your onions. You don't want to actually cook them too fast. You want a slow caramelization on them. Now, one of Grandma's secrets is before you put the onions into the breadcrumbs, you're going to actually steal a couple tablespoons of them for later use. Now, we'll add our onions and butter to the breadcrumbs. Then we'll mix it together, which we'll use for our topping. And we'll set it aside. Now, for our squash, we're going to place our medium pot over the same medium-high heat. Then we're going to add our squash with no oil or butter. The squash will let off their natural juices, and then they'll evaporate down as you're cooking them down. That's why I love our Viking cookware. It's stainless steel, delicious cooking, and no other flavors interfering whatsoever. We're going to cook on medium heat for about 10 minutes to soften them up, and we're going to keep stirring them for about every minute or so they don't scorch on the bottom of the pan. They're nice and tender and ready to go. Now remember those onions we saved? Now they're going to go into our squash. We'll add our onions, our shredded carrots, a little garlic powder, salt, a little fresh cracked pepper, and we'll cook for 1 more minute. Smells like Grandma's house. Now let's add this to a bowl. And we'll add our cream of chicken soup, our sour cream, and we'll bring it together. Now it's important that you put a little bit of the breadcrumbs in the bottom of your baking dish first. Maybe 2 or 3 tablespoons before you add the squash mixture. And we'll top with our breadcrumbs, sauteed onions, and butter. Now we're going to place this in a preheated 350-degree oven for about 20 minutes. And for my kitchen ears, happy holidays!